The story of Cyberpunk is one that has always been among my absolute favourites in gaming. It's a story about a man so rageful, cold, and unbearably relentless in his pursuit to seek freedom. Freedom from the corporations who control people's lives. Freedom from the lies and misconceptions born from a city that tortures its own residents. Freedom from a tortured past in a quest to seek salvation. In 2020, we played through the story following an optimistic character named V, a man of extreme ambition and will who becomes a product of his own environment. Cold to the suffering that surrounds his streets and deaf to the morality of his actions due to his selfish pursuit to become someone. During his career as a mercenary, he kills countless people, completes many gigs, and befriends a man named Jackie who would consistently push and motivate him to achieve his goals. Because V wants to become a legend, someone who stands strong as a man of fear, a man of respect, someone who's more than the cybernetics that consume his body, and the corporate products grafted onto his soul. He simply wants something very few people in Night City could even possibly dream of: purpose. Throughout the first act of Cyberpunk, V and Jackie embark on a quest where they attempt to steal an ancient artifact known as the Relic. Neither know its origins, purpose, and just what kind of power lies within this shard, but to them it's completely irrelevant. Their selfishness and greed for ambition will always prevent them from even considering what a man like Dexter DeShawn would do with the Relic. Because, just like him, they're opportunists, who will kill, torture, and tear anyone who stands in their way just for a slight chance to become someone, instead of the countless faces in the crowd, the NPCs that walk the very streets. This ignorance and selfishness will inevitably lead to V's fate, where his best friend Jackie is killed in a moment of reckless improvisation, and V is consumed by the Relic's power, making him witness and see a previous legend of Night City, Johnny Silverhand. The beauty of this story specifically is both Johnny and V are products of their corrupt environments. Both were very promising figures who had so much influence and potential to change the world in a positive way. V wants to become a legend, but he himself doesn't even know what that means really. To him it just means someone who's respected and identified for their actions. However, Night City's heroes are anything but heroic. They are spiteful, narcissistic, and borderline selfish in every attempt to inspire change. Legends such as Johnny, while yes mildly recognized for their artistry, are mainly recognized for their selfishness, greed, and narcissism in pursuit to inspire change, alienating everyone in their lives, both friends and loved ones, for a chance to achieve greatness. As Act 2 continues, V and Johnny are introduced to each other as we watch the two bond and develop. At first they're incredibly cold and standoffish towards each other, however, with every subsequent interaction with one another, the two enemies slowly become friends. V's perception on Johnny and his past is slowly altered, forming a deep respect and admiration for what he stood for and symbolised. And Johnny as well begins to build a deep respect for V, admiring his relentless quest for survival and every step he's willing to take to save them. In Act 2, many moments occur where they bond with one another and share extremely personal and intimate moments. For example, Johnny uses V's body as a vessel to make amends with his past friends and family he's wronged. They both visit Johnny's grave in a heartbreaking moment of despair and realization, and they even ride roller coasters together and bond as brothers. Their dynamic truly becomes something special in this story and becomes something that rivals some of gaming's greatest duos. As V develops more and more, he begins to see what a true legend is. Something that not only inspires the residents of Night City, but a figure that stands as a symbol of pride and love to his closest family. What's so ironic about this entire relationship is Johnny's presence is technically killing V. He's essentially a virus, but due to his influence on V's journey, he completely changes his thought process, by making him perceive his actions and goals in a more positive and optimistic way. This progression and development of V's character will inevitably lead him to making a choice that embodies selflessness. A sacrifice where his life can finally be given meaning and purpose. A mission that perfectly resonates the game's most important and beautiful themes. Cyberpunk's final mission is one of my favourite missions in gaming. It's a mission where a conflicted V sits on a rooftop, helplessly deciding how to execute the impossible task of infiltrating Arasaka Tower so they can use Mikoshi. So many different story resolutions can occur here, from a helpless suicide, Johnny's solo infiltration, and if you have the DLC, you can even use Solomon Reed to extract Johnny's engram. However, there is one ending in this game which easily stands stronger than any other. An ending where V finally becomes a legend, and Johnny is given a second chance at life, finally achieving redemption. Towards the end of this mission, V infiltrates Arasaka, defeats Adam Smasher, and finally plugs into Mikoshi, which transports him into a purgatory, a desolate cyberspace that feels so uncomfortably ambient as the fear of V's fate becomes the only thought we can conjure. As V finally makes it across the cyberspace, he's reunited with Johnny, who stares off into an open void in both fear and anticipation of the following moments. Realizing V will inevitably have to make a decision that will cost the life of two people. People who deserve nothing but redemption and a second chance to align their purpose. Johnny sits V down as Alt explains the brutal and horrifying reality of this situation. She goes on to explain that Silverhand's engram has progressed way too far, essentially rebooting V's mind as his construct deletes his personality encryption, instead making it available for Johnny. After all their sacrifices, all their bonding and growth as people, V sits there alone in despair and anger, pondering any scenario where he can live, any scenario where Johnny can still redeem his redemption as the two enter Night City as new and inspired people. Unfortunately for V, he only has 6 months to live, making all of his dreams to become a legend impossible. His relationship will be short-lived, his legacy will fade with him, and most importantly of all, his dream career will be a dead-end spiral, most likely causing him nothing but depression and misery. In this moment, he's presented with two very simple but complex choices. He can either sacrifice himself to Johnny, relinquishing control of his body and allowing Silverhand the opportunity to finally achieve salvation, or he can keep his remaining 6 months, live out what little life is left, and inevitably die as a result of the biochip. What makes this choice so effective is it poses a very interesting moral question. Who should die in this situation, and who should be saved? Because you could make equally compelling arguments for why either one should take ownership of the body, making this choice incredibly difficult and emotional, because we've seen these characters develop and bond throughout the game. However, if you ask me, there's only one ending I truly consider to be canon, despite what anyone says or argues. And that's the ending where V sacrifices himself and relinquishes control to Johnny. In this moment, he stares at the void and sees an opportunity to become something greater than himself. A sacrifice where V can finally become a symbol for greatness, a symbol for love. V may not have been a legend amongst the residents of Night City, but instead made a far more fulfilling impact on the closest friend he has in his life. A friend that wears his face with pride and honor, rejecting all drugs, addictions, and truly becoming the greatest version of himself. In this ending, Johnny Silverhand gets a second chance to reinvent himself. V becomes the legend he always desired. And while yes, it may not appear to be the happiest ending, it most definitely is the most satisfying one. Because the beauty and overall emotion in Dawn Never Fades is something that makes Cyberpunk among my favourites in this genre. Because this game is so much more than its cool visuals and gameplay. It's a game about choice, growing, and sharing intimate moments and relationships with countless memorable characters. I'll never forget moments such as Johnny visiting his grave. I'll never forget the ending of Phantomliberty and how shaken I was from that fantastic finale. And most importantly of all, I'll never forget that moment where V sacrificed his dreams so Johnny could have the chance to achieve his own. This is one of the greatest games I've ever played, and that's why this mission in Cyberpunk 2077 is peak storytelling.